Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Warning: this video may contain explicit descriptions of drug use, violence, and sexual situations. Viewer discretion is advised as this content may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello and welcome back to Kingdom of Fear by one Hunter S. Thompson. We are in the midst of the battle for Woody Creek and how all that played out, and we're getting ready to start to dive into a new adventure, see where this takes us. So without further ado, let's get into this bad boy.
The fat was in the fire. My mood became dangerously confrontational in those weeks. I was angry and lonely and doing a lot of target shooting day and night. My friends worried that I was being pushed over the edge by this constant barrage of threats and sudden death by violence. I was always armed and sullen, living from moment to moment and ripped to the tits on my own adrenaline.
Yeah, though the problem with adrenaline highs is they get addictive. As somebody who spent 25 years as a prison guard, adrenaline highs can be very addictive.
I look at Deborah's photos from that feverish time and think, ye fucking gods, this man appears to be criminally insane. It looks like some horrible flashback from Reefer Madness and the Craze and Scarface and Boogie Nights all at once. The photos still give me the creeps. God damn it. I have bitten the front of my tongue again. Why? What have I eaten tonight that would cause me to draw blood from my own tongue?
Yeah, you know you're under a little bit of stress when that kind of shit happens. And you know, if you go back and you look at pictures from when you were under that much stress and you're creeped out, you know that was a very weird time, stressful time.
Where's the Percodan? Where's Anita? What is that noise in the bushes? Why am I so crazy all the time? There was a time when I was vaguely worried by questions like these, but no longer. There are some questions that you can only worry about for so long until finally they become meaningless.
You got a point. Has a very, very valid point there.
And it is never healthy to start questioning your own sanity.
That I would have to agree with 150%.
Being free and happy on the street is evidence enough of sanity these days.
And I think that goes doubly so in this horrible year of our Lord, 2024.
Why is it that so many people have gone insane since the end of the American century and the horrible Bush family was restored to power? Why is the teenage suicide rate going up? Is the president a clone? Is my car going to explode? Why does my sweetheart suddenly have all these lewd tattoos on her body?
Those are the kind of questions that will slowly drive you insane. We have different questions in 2024 to drive us insane, but you know, all the less, they're still there.
Editor's note. Wait a minute. Time out. Why am I writing all these things on this primitive red electric typewriter when I can read them all in real time on the goddamn overloaded internet with the flick of a mouse or a button? Am I a fool? Have I been bogged down in Alzheimer's all these years? What does it all mean?
And I think that is the million-dollar question.
Homer? Okay, back to business. The giant porcupine story did not go away. Finally, to avoid deadly violence and another 5 years in prison, I was compelled to sacrifice my precious Smizer Nazi machine gun. I chopped it up with a heavy industrial grinder, and had it formally delivered to the forces of law and order in a large white bag filled with poison grease that would eat the flesh off of anyone who touched it.
A man after my own heart.
And that was that, as I recall. It was never mentioned again, and neither was the porcupine. My new assistant arrived on Christmas, on loan from the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications.
That is a hell of a trek. And it makes you wonder, you know, his different assistants, how much they played into Ellis Wyatt's assistance for Spy to Jerusalem in the Transmetropolitan comic.
And I settled down, as it were, to finishing my long overdue book, Songs of the Doomed, which was still only half written. Another deadline agony. They're always painful.
And that is a pretty good book, by the way. Actually, all of his nonfiction I really enjoy. His fiction's good. Don't get me wrong, Thompson's fiction is good, but his nonfiction is even better.
Christmas came and went in a frenzy of work. The big snow fell and the thermometer plunged to 10 or 15 below zero.
Oh, no. My Texas blood would, no, not even trying for temperatures that low.
The Democrats had lost another election and Bush was still the new president. But not much had changed since the 80s, when the looting of the Treasury was running in high gear and the U.S. military was beginning to flex its newfound money muscle. When, everywhere you looked, the flag suckers were in charge.
Kind of like the flag suckers now. Or the flag huggers. The flag molesting president, you know. It is what it is.
We invaded a bunch of tiny, helpless countries like Lebanon, Grenada, and Panama, just for the practice. And it was about that time that I went to work as a columnist for the Hearst-owned San Francisco Examiner.
The thing is all that stuff that happened during the Bush last part, well, Grenada was Reagan, I believe, Reagan era, end of Reagan era. And the little things that we did during George the First, and all the bullshit that went down during Clinton and George the Second and Obama and Trump and now Biden and potentially Harris, or maybe a Trump rerun. We don't know yet. So yeah, all of it. And don't get me wrong, it just here lately the Republicans have been, or not really, yeah, the Republicans, not the conservatives, the Republicans have been fucking tits crazy. And the Democrats have only been a cunt hair's thickness less crazy. And at least the Democrats are smart enough not to say the quiet things out loud. So yeah, it may seem that I'm picking on Republicans, and I am to a certain degree. That's just because they're putting themselves out there to be picked on. So, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, the Democrats did some fucked up shit. Not that getting your dick sucked in the White House would be a bad thing. I mean, you'd have to ask Billy Clinton about that. And I imagine all presidents have gotten their dick sucked or fucked somebody in the Oval Office at some point. So, you know, it's just, the Democrats are just smart enough right now to keep their crazy out of the public consciousness. So,
and discovered feminist pornography and moved to Sausalito with Maria. It was a wild and savage time, Bubba. All hell broke loose, in a phrase. Moving down the mountain has always been dangerous for me because of the space problem, but San Francisco in the 1980s was a genuine adult dose.
I imagine so. Because in the 80s, you had, well, depending, before the AIDS outbreak, before the AIDS epidemic, especially on the West Coast, you know, Frisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, all of those areas there. I mean, fuck, you had heterosexual, free sex, homosexual, bisexual. You know, if you were just that horny and had the money to do it, I mean, the West Coast was the place to do it.
I was shocked. In 1981, I was 44 years old, and I saw myself in the mirror as a grizzled veteran of many wars, untold violence, a respectable 8 or 9 jails all over the world. I had ridden in the wild beast of passion through so many jungles and nightmares and devastating personal disasters that I felt about 200 years old.
Yeah. I imagine working in jobs. I know there are days, being a former corrections officer, that I feel like that. I imagine there are police officers, firefighters, ambulance, EMTs, military personnel that have that same feeling sometimes.
My heart was strong, but my body was scarred and broken and warped from a lifetime of dangerous confrontations. I was old beyond my years, as they say, and I had developed a curious habit of survival. It was the only way I knew, and I was getting pretty good at it on the evidence.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that make it, especially coming through the 80s and the 90s, or actually, in Hunter's case, 60s, 70s, and now in this particular point in his timeline being the start of the 80s, I imagine, you know, just grizzled, wore out, beat up, folded, spun, mutilated, all there.
I had even survived my time as night manager of the depraved O'Farrell Theater, along with being arrested 7 times in 6 weeks for crimes that you can't avoid committing when the police are admittedly tracking you 24 hours a day and routinely busting you for things like open container and running yellow lights and being naked at night in Golden Gate Park for no apparent reason.
Yeah, like I said, there are a whole lot of parallels, especially in this book, with Ellis Wyatt's Transmetropolitan comic. If you have not read this comic and are a fan of Thompson's, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend it. You may not be a comic book reader, but this particular comic is worth, if, like I said, if you're a fan of Hunter S. Thompson and you haven't read this is kind of, I would say, almost required reading, because it is a future look at what possibly could happen based on what did happen. Postmodern futurism, I guess you could call it. But with that, we'll go ahead and call this video good here. And until next time, be a good human. Be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?